So, we're going to start off by talking about the different types of bankruptcies that you help people with out of your law firm. And the first one is a Chapter 7. Now, I think Chapter 7s, as I understand it, they're mostly for individuals. You wouldn't see a business filing a Chapter 7, would you?
Well, yeah, usually Chapter 7s are filed by individual people or married couples. However, Chapter 7s are filed by businesses as well. Typically, though, when a business files Chapter 7, that means that they're going under. They're no longer going to provide their service or continue to do business. They're just basically liquidating their assets and walking away from the business, whatever it might be. But most cases are, individual consumer cases that we do. That are, again, either a person filing or a married couple filing.
That's interesting. So, is there anything about Chapter 7 that we should know when considering filing for that? And what are some of the attributes to the Chapter 7 that would help us make that decision?
Well, generally, a Chapter 7 is filed to eliminate debt. So certain types of debts that you may have are what we call dischargeable in a Chapter 7 bankruptcy case. For example, the most common things we see are credit card debt, medical bills, money owed on cars that were either repossessed or turned in early, things like personal loans, payday loans, things like that, just basic unsecured debts that you can just eliminate in Chapter 7. To some extent, other things like taxes, older income tax debt can be discharged in Chapter 7, and there's a number of other types of debt.
And so, in comparison, what would you say about a Chapter 13 bankruptcy?
So yeah, Chapter 13, by comparison, is more of a restructuring of your debt. So the way I like to say it is, let's just say your monthly bills are $1,000 a month in between your credit cards and your car payment, let's say. For example, in a Chapter 13, we might be able to reduce that down to $500 a month, and you still keep your vehicle. So the idea is to get your debts to fit in your budget. And that makes sense. Usually you don't come to a bankruptcy attorney or think about filing bankruptcy if you're easily able to afford your payments every month. But when it gets to the point where, the money going out is more than the money coming in, that's when it's time to take some action. And sometimes that means Chapter 7, just getting rid of as much debt as you can. And other times that means Chapter 13, where rather than paying it all back, you're just paying back what your budget allows you to pay back.
Well, that does make a lot of sense. And I'm sure that it's a huge relief to your clients who have been struggling to, pay a mountain of bills that they can't afford. So, that's really great. Is there one bankruptcy that you see more people filing for than the other?
There's a lot of factors that go into that. And if you ask that question to someone else, they might give you a different answer. I would say we file more Chapter 7s than Chapter 13s, but not by a lot. It really comes down to your situation. I mean, usually your situation dictates which bankruptcy would be more effective and be more beneficial to you. There are times where you may have an option and you have to decide what makes more sense. But usually you walk in with a situation that either calls for a Chapter 7 or it calls for a Chapter 13.